Thanks for having me here. A little bit about me. We'll jump to that. Who am I and why do I have a microphone? I'm head of technology for Ladbrokes Australia. I'll just get rid of my ugly mug. That's a bit better. I'm responsible for all Ladbrokes production environments, so basically keeping the site alive. Making sure customers can trade with us, all the back-end systems. I've been at Ladbrokes almost 4 years. Before that, I was at Tats Group for about 3 years, and then before that, Tote Tasmania. So, very strong background in wagering environments. Ladbrokes has grown quite a bit since I started. When I started, I actually was the sole DBA, and so that made going on leave. I sort of moved out of DBA into technology areas. So, being sole DBA made leave very hard. Outside of work, I like to run. Any park runners out there? Nope? Okay. Play guitar badly, and in my own time, I like to make beer. A bit about Ladbrokes. We actually started as a startup. So not as a sort of enterprise, we actually started up called Bookmaker, which then got acquired by Ladbrokes out of the UK. And we've gone over rapid growth over the last few years. Example is last year's Melbourne Cup, we hit our previous year's network traffic by 11 o'clock in the morning. So from that rest of the day onwards is totally new state. About 350, 400 staff, depending on the time of year. And it's a very, very competitive market. It is, say, a crowded market. So if we're having problems, people will go somewhere else. It's not like, say, it's not companies a monopoly, say, ticketing companies, things like that. They only can sell one event. If we can't trade, people will go somewhere else. We've also been acquired by GVC. They're one of Europe's biggest companies. Our workload on our system is actually very seasonal. It's not constant. So we're in the middle of Spring Carnival, so it's really big. Every Saturday, we'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger. Then Melbourne Cup, then one weekend after, and then it'll just drop down again. And then we'll go through a cycle. We'll have a big summer, drop off, sports kick off. Then you have AFL finals, things like that. We had FIFA this World Cup this year, drop off, and then go straight into Spring Carnival again. We actually had a bit of a monolith to start with. Being a startup, we sort of just kept bolting things on top, but we're shifting to a microservice architecture and also DevOps culture. So we're trying to deploy faster. We're trying to get out to market a lot quicker. So a bit about our shift. So this is exactly the sort of rough ratio of how we're sort of set up. So we've got devs and solution architects, systems guys sort of off to the side, our BAU guys who are basically the first port of call for issues, and then DBA team off the side. It's not maintainable with this sort of monolith. So the BAU's guys are always the first guys getting hit. They're the guys getting called in the middle of the night. All the systems guys, all the DBAs, and the devs sort of off there sleeping away. So how we're splitting that up is more breaking up like that. So the DBAs and the solutions guys become virtual members of those teams. We don't have enough DBAs for all the teams, and it's more of a specialist role. And then our systems guys are actually spreading into those teams. With some system guys, we'll actually stay out and be basically a platform team. But we're actually putting all the systems guys into the dev teams, make it faster with our container builds. So rather than the devs build code, throw it over the fence and say, can you deploy this? No, it's going to be continual integration. And they actually have to set their alerts for what they're building. So they'll set what is an alert state, who gets called, who gets escalated to. And it's very much going to be a you build it, you support it model. So if you build, say, an auth service and it breaks in the night, you're the person getting the page alert. It won't be the BAU guys. They'll actually join the dev teams as well. So, our monolith. What we're breaking. So, at the moment, traditionally when we first started, if we hit a little bit of a speed bump, a little problem go, it'd be more like that. With our currently, the amount of throughput we get right now, it is closer to that when things go wrong. So, that's why we have to break it down. And we've broken down quite a bit. So, it's really much put a new module out there, we break it away. New module, break away. Build an auth service. And we just keep chipping away and putting out more containers, more microservices. until it'll all be gone. It'll be much smaller, much easier to manage. But it's also identifying what the common calls are. So we basically take the monolith, and sometimes we look at common things, okay, rather than new stuff, old things, okay, look at banking commands. Well, the banking commands could be all grouped together. That becomes a little microservice. Or it might be resulting. The resulter becomes a little microservice. We've done a feeds project. So it's been very much a pivot for us to change. We realised probably last year we'd probably reached a point with our current platform that we couldn't go any further with it. So now how we're doing incident management now. We take a blended approach to our monitoring and alerting. So for our APM and synthetics, we use New Relic, and it's great. So all of our devs have access to New Relic. I really like the synthetics. We use it for lots of areas. Logging is Sumo. Sumo is for our logging solution. Time metrics, PRTG, and alerting is PagerDuty. And what we always pick with our products is what integrates together. That's what the key thing. So when we do a matrix when we pick a product, is what the integrations, how that's going to work together. So we use New Relic for our APM. It's one of the most important tools we use. It's very quickly see where baselines change. Don't actually have Ladbrokes in that area. I just had to cover up some internal transactions you can't really see. But we use it to baseline again. So this is where we sort of can do comparisons of how did we go last weekend, how can quickly change. Because we're in a period right now where this coming Saturday, Caulfield Cup, will most likely be bigger than Everest last weekend. And it just will keep ramping up and stress me out, but it comes with a job. And straight away we always keep check of alerts, what's going on, what's wrong, what's critical, what's more of a alert we just need to, how it's shifting. You'll get some error levels, but then the shift is when something spikes. Now, I love synthetics. Synthetics is a product we use all the time, and it is great for baselining how we're going. We have a number that we call. I actually had to blur them out because some of them are, I could say, competitors. We all in this industry, we're all looking at each other's backyard. So if we're doing well, we like to know that someone else hopefully not doing as well. But we use synthetics for things like login, how quick to place a bet. So we do one, have an account, we'll log in, place a quick bet, pick the top event, place a bet, and we check the response time on that. Even log in, check your account balance, things like that. And that's a very good way to track how you're going through the day. So if you get to like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the biggest race of the day, and suddenly see a shift there, you know things could be going wrong. You want to check that versus your throughput. I said it's quite competitive, so everyone's looking at each other. Also, insights. We love insights. At the moment, it's a mass to build more insights dashboards, see how the business is going. It's a great way to track what we're doing, how busy things are going, when things shift. That's a big thing for us. Example is when a race closes. A big race closes. That's when you see a lot of traffic, and then it die down. All dashboards showing good fairly hardly any errors there, going quite well. I think that was a Monday morning, so it's a good time to pick. And as I said, the rest of the stack, so yeah, Sumo, good product, PRTG, and Pager for alerting. Now, as far as alerting goes, make sure they're functional and realistic. If every alert is critical, then no alert is critical. So if every alert is P1, then it doesn't make sense. You need to have tier your alerts. Also be willing to, when you define your thresholds, willing to review them. I think that someone else has covered this already, but we do. So we put something out and we say this is our alert level. but our traffic increases, then the alert level might shift a bit. So we need to modify that and basically modify that for the future. Also, alert the right people with the right access. So if you're sending alerts to a team and then they can't log into that area, then that's a useless alert. So make sure you have your clear escalation paths. And also not make them vague, not make them, oh, I think something might be wrong, could you wake up? You'll win no friends with that. and it has happened. We've had people put out information alerts into PagerDuty. When we set people on call, make sure they have the staff has access and the correct tools. Going on call can be scary. I mean, I've done it a number of years. Lucky sort of management not as doing it as much, but it is scary. You're sort of, you think you got to be able to log in within 10 minutes, have your laptop everywhere. You've got to change your life around that. That's sort of scary thing. So make sure you give the people training. We give them a buddy. So if someone goes on call, we basically have them a buddy that they can always call, escalate to. And also make sure you can sort of escalate across sideways. So if you go, well, this bad API call is actually coming from someone else sending me wrong data, I can then call this other person. So go across sideways. And also watch for overload. It's the poor guy with the hose there just getting all the alerts one night. Willing to take people off call, and that's where we things like use like PagerDuty to see who's got the calls, who's got too many calls, and also out of that, who's not answering calls. We do tiering first and second level, so if the second level suddenly getting all the calls, you ask the question, well, why is the first guy not answering it? And that could be just a training, could be an issue, could be just an overload, he just slept through it, I'm just so exhausted. So, and last, no one needs to be a single point of failure. You can't have one person in your environment with all the keys, all the knowledge, because you'll be relying on that person, and when that person decides to go to a concert or is out of phone range or says, I'm going to go camping for the weekend, you'll be worried. So you've got to make sure you spread the knowledge. Planning. For us, it's always preparation. So always, basically be prepared. The old Scout motto, be prepared. Automate wherever you're possible. And if not, have playbooks for any situation. Many alerts can be at 2 o'clock in the morning. So the brain always isn't firing the best at say 2, 3 in the morning. The alert goes off, you're trying to read what's that. If it's easy to log in, check a page, go, okay, I just click this, it's going to restart that Docker container, I can go back to sleep, sort of thing. You don't want somebody trying to SSH into something and trying to dig around in logs at that time of night. We also run simulation days. So we'll have load test environment, which we can actually do full simulation days, and we'll basically run a whole test day against that, and then throw incidents in there. And also test cross-team issues. So, said simulation days, we'll basically get our guys together. Even if it's production early in the morning, we might do a load test of production. So we've been doing load tests the last few months. Pick an early morning, quiet, and we will just throw off as many bets per minute we can hit our site with. But with a simulation day, we can do it in our offline environment, load test, and we'll have devs there, BAU, system guys there, and then we'll in the background we'll be like, okay, let's turn the auth service off. What's going to happen now? And like, oh no, it's the auth service. Okay, we've loaded up race 6, 1 million bets. We got the wrong result. What are we going to do now? Things like that. We try to make scenarios, test people, test out how they do things, how they respond. And if they have to scratch around and dig that too long, then you go, okay, that's where we need a playbook, or that's where we need to automate it. When it comes to incidents, we sort of say the incident manager is sort of the ultimate decision maker. They are the person who's basically, in some environments, higher than the sea levels. They basically get the correspondence out, drag people in. Also, define and document communication protocols. We have rules set up so as soon as the incident's declared, chat room's created, everyone's invited in, and that chat room then becomes the source of truth for that day. If you want to drop a screenshot in, don't do the normal tech channel, drop it in there. And at the end of that, we'll archive that room off to cover that incident. Also communicate with the business. So tech can sometimes get a little bit blinkers on and say, okay, we've got a problem. We need to, the stakeholders, we've got different teams, we've got trading teams, we've got CRM teams, we've got the Exco. They all need to know what's going on and we've got a problem. So you need to sort of get on the front foot, get the information out there. And also manage the customer communications. Example is, in a busy time, a minute of downtime could probably cost us upward of $100,000. And it's not just in the lost trade, it's actually the customer going somewhere else. Because if we're not there in a crowded market, they'll go over here. And once they're over here, to get them come back again, that's a hard thing because they might go, oh, I like this new site. So that's the real issue for us, is basically, if we have an issue, is how to manage basically the comms on that. So here's a bit of a rundown of an incident for us. Oh dear. Desktop's down. Means no trading. First thing is, incident manager pops in. Now for us, right now, Spring Carnival, we have an incident manager on site every Saturday. It's just our protocol. So we have basically someone who's defined for that day for incident management. Plus we'll have system guys, have people in the office every day, and then we'll give time off later on. But there's one person defined to be incident manager for that day. We haven't had an issue any big Saturdays, touch wood. So the first thing is, create a chat room. So as soon as the incident starts, bang, hit the button, automated chat room comes up, and we drag everyone in who's on either pager alerts or who's in the office for that day, and get the chat going. And then first thing is manage your communication. So if we've got site basically crashed, is get up some sort of maintenance page. It's much better that for the customer, with a number they can call and talk, or maybe place a bet via phone operator, than just having 404 page. That's not going to look good. So it's also manage that expectation of what we can actually control while we try to fix things. The other interesting step we do is straight away, we engage with our social team. So we engage with the BI teams to check who was basically trading with us, and then with our social teams who are in the office as well. Because managing the social media, if you've ever seen when someone's had a site down, certain agency might have been selling tickets to a final type thing, and they were just everyone's getting a stock standard reply of like, sorry, busy, sorry, busy. That doesn't look good. So our social team actually will try to basically tailor messages going, oh, sorry, sir, try to, what's your details? Can we get, is there any bonus bet type thing we can work with? Let's manage that thing, manage the customer. So it's very important it's not just a technology, it's a whole company issue. And then this all runs parallel, and then engage the techs. So we drag our technology guys in, hopefully they can fix it. This is where the scenarios, our test days have come in. Go to the run books. And check your alerts and go, oh, why is PHP spiked? What's gone wrong there? And some of this could be some of the rules, some of this from our test environment we've been mucking around with. But it's basically this is where your dashboard and your monitoring solutions are vital. And be able to basically merge stuff together. So, okay, I can see in Sumo these errors coming from, say, Nginx or some system. I can see in APM a massive spike here, something's gone wrong. Okay, what's wrong? Okay, cycle the app might have to cycle the Docker containers, things like that. So it's basically tying all this in together. And this is all where the metrics come into it, knowing what your baseline and what is an issue. So you might, and getting rid of what's a false positive, you go, oh, that's a spike, but that actually not be a real issue. Hopefully, old mate is fixing it. And at the same time, when we're saying fixing, it's a communication. Make sure it's not just tech here; it's the incident manager going, okay, social guys, we're close to live. Get that word out. We're almost there. Also, it's for our BI team and our CRM team. They'll be looking at who is trading that lead-up period, who is trading, who they are, and contact direct, whether it's direct marketing, things like that. It's not just saying, okay, we had a site issue, we're just going to ignore it. No, we need to engage. We need to acknowledge that something happened. And then hopefully we've recovered. For our post-mortem is data drives the investigation. Not based on feels, not based on anyone's gut, like, oh, I think this was, it's really where you have to trust your data. In post-mortems, make sure everyone has a say. I don't know if any post-mortem, you don't let one person control the narrative, which can happen. You get one person trying to push their, and you often have one person off in the corner being very quiet, and they might have the most important thing to say, so really make sure you engage with everyone. Don't let one person drive the narrative. We also always try to focus on improvement straight away. So firstly, it's blame us, but also, what do we do well? Okay, we did communications well. We were on the front foot there. What can we improve? We were slow to bring the site back, or when we brought it back, there was bad results, things like that. It's basically, what can we fix? And also encourage discussions around the team. Someone say, oh, well, I've got an idea. How about next time we do this? Or how about, why don't we have a playbook for this? Or why don't we have this alternate, cut down site we can push out? It's very much open to what can we do better. And then create tickets. Any of these things, points come out of it, create Jira tickets and then assign them. And they don't go into backlog, because if a ticket they just created and gone in backlog, it's useless. It has to be then assigned and basically given a time when it has to be looked at. And then set your review for your PIR and stick to it. If you say, oh, we had this issue and we're going to review it, and then 6 months later you haven't reviewed it again, and it happens again, it's not a good look. And that's where, someone will be in trouble. So a bit of a summary. For us, it's be prepared. Things will go wrong, but it's how you respond to them that's the key. With the detection, make sure you have the right alerting. Make sure you have your sensors set up. Make sure you have the right escalation paths. Make sure the right people are getting woken up or the right alerts are created. It's worse if a system fails and no one notices. That's a common issue. And investigation. What's gone wrong? How do we resolve it? How do we fix it this time? And how we can stop that happening again? And lastly, the PIR is, what do we learn? And how can we do it better? How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? Because anytime if you have to go back to executives and say, okay, we had this issue, and now it's come back again, they're going to say, well, why? And that's where you need to say, oh, okay, we need to fix it this time. You can't just keep going in this cycle. So you've got to always have, basically fix the issue, review what you did, and make sure you've got plans for the future. Thank you.